Hey everybody, it is Saturday morning. You all know that I love my Saturdays, and I have a little journal that I wanted to share. This one is really sweet. I enjoyed making this. As you all know, I do a lot of listing and sorting and just working with supplies, and sometimes I have to just stop and make something. And I'm going to try to do more of that. I know it's really good for me to just create. This little journal is tied with a piece of sari silk, and it is made from a tiny little vintage book. It was called Old Dolls, and I am not sure, I don't remember the year. It is just filled with beautiful papers. It has a lot of my tea-stained papers in it that are a bit pink. This one, I tried to keep it pretty small because I didn't want it to just, fan open in a huge way. If you took all the postcards out, it would probably be pretty flat. And that is kind of exactly what I was going for. On the front, there is some white cotton fabric, and then on top of that, a piece of fabric with a beautiful bird on it. And I love the color and the feel of this this fabric. It feels kind of like linen. I think it's cotton because it's so soft, but I love that it matched the color of the book. And then again, getting inside, I'll just flip through quickly. The inside cover of the journal is this really pretty silk, and this silk was hand printed. It's a designer fabric. I love the contrast of these beige stripes. It's kind of like ticking. I love this kind of fabric. And then there's another flower here. This journal has some really nice postcards in it. This is an old postcard. It's kind of macabre, the image on the front. It's the triumph of David. So on first glance, you see all these beautiful clothes and all of these colors and these columns. They look very old, very Roman or Greek, but then you can see this head on a stick, and that is Goliath, of course. And it has a beautiful card here. I had to put the Queen of Hearts because this book is full of beautiful ladies, or as they're sometimes referred to, dolls. And the very front page has got this beautiful image. That was from a day book that I had, and it just had some really pretty pictures in it. It's got some vintage lace on the edge. The next page, of course, there's the back of that page from the day book. There's a little sample card, a paint chip or something. I don't remember if that was wallpaper or a paint. I think it might have been a paint chip actually, and just a couple of little embellishments and some vintage lace. And then there is a vintage photograph of a beautiful lady, probably from around the 50s, I think. Maybe even the 40s, maybe late 40s. There's some of my tea-stained paper, and of course this came from the set of pages from the old ledger that I have that was turned into a scrapbook, and it goes all the way back into the 1800s. So this beautiful writing came from that book. Then here is a little page from a book about plants, and I wrote down the names of each plant because this was one of those books where on one page you have the flowers and then on the opposite page you have the information. So you really would end up not knowing what you're looking at. There's another page. There's another page of that beautiful old writing. Then we have another pretty image from a book of quotations that I have. And there's a large tag. This first really pretty postcard, it's vintage, as you can tell. The original picture is from 1921. It's untitled. International Center of Photography is where this postcard came from. The International Center of Photography exhibit Fleeting Gestures, Treasures of Dance Photography. And the name at the top is Soichi Tsunami. Is the photographer. I need to do a little more research on that. But it's just a beautiful image of a really pretty lady in a ballet costume. And then this is a little piece of a book. It's a heavy card book, but it had the little individual pieces of each page that you could flip a portion of the piece or a portion of the page and change the entire outfit of the lady on the page. I love this particular image, and I've just threaded a piece of old ribbon through that. And this beautiful fabric carries on throughout the journal. Let me get that little string off of there. There's just a beautiful portion of the dyed paper, and another image from the old quotation book, Vintage Lace. There's a little piece of that fabric on the edge and one of the bead charms. There is a piece of wallpaper, and on that I have put some matching fabric. There's a little spot where you could hide a little journal entry underneath, a vintage postage stamp, and I tried to definitely stick with the theme of ladies all throughout this journal. You can see the pretty hand-dyed paper and more wallpaper. I felt like, what would one of my journals be without a beautiful bird? So of course I put this one in, the tricolored heron. This is an Audubon card. And there's another piece of the fabric with a little copper heart charm and more paper. The center fold of the journal is this beautiful image that's also from a quotation book that I had. And I love ribbon when it gets like this. It's been tied, it's been stored, it's a little misshapen, but this is a really nice old ribbon. It has a really nice feel to it. It's the grosgrain and it's really soft. And then here is a little bit of pom-pom trim. I have to tell you, I am learning again how to sew on my vintage Singer sewing machine. It's a beautiful old machine that I found about 12 years ago, and just maybe 13 or 14 years ago. But I fell in love with it, and I bought it. I didn't pay much for it. I had it cleaned and restored, and it sews like a dream. But I'm getting used to it again, so it's a little bit quirky yet. And anyway, that old Singer was used to make the trim, or to put the trim in this journal. I just wanted to show you a couple of pictures of this really pretty old Singer. It used to sit in my retail shop, and I used it. And there's more wallpaper, more of my hand-dyed paper. There's a beautiful old image. More tea-stained dyed paper. And there's an old postage stamp and an ink stamp. More of the old writing. There's a tiny little key charm and some vintage lace. This has a lot of pretty quotes in it from that quotation book that was all about love letters. I love artwork by Gustav Klimt, and this is a vintage postcard with one of his works. This was printed in Austria. So here's just another little tag from some scrapbook paper. And let me explain this little tag here. I found a beautiful old photograph recently, and it was a wedding photograph, and part of it was ruined. There was no fixing it. There were stains on half of her face, or a part of her face. And something really fun or neat to do with old photographs that are partially ruined. I knew that it was not very likely that anybody was ever going to do anything with this photograph. Even if you put the photograph on a computer to try to restore it, I think it would have taken a lot of effort. Not to mention There was no identifying information with the photograph. It had been discarded, of course, donated. And her entire other eye was covered with this big stain. So when I find things like that, I cut out what I can use. I thought it would make a really pretty little tag. She's very beautiful, to just take part of her face, and she fit in perfectly with this theme of ladies or dolls. And there's some more of the dyed paper. There's my little cloth tag that's stamped with birdsong. And here is another really neat page. This is another postcard with art by Gustav Klimt. This is from that same old photograph. It's the jacket that the lady was wearing. And you can see the really pretty button. You can see some of the stains. Most of the stains were up higher, but you can see some here. And the stain over the other part of her face was pretty bad. But I thought it's kind of neat, even the way that postcard fits into that pocket. And here is a little band of lace with another old photograph underneath. I think that probably is the 40s. That outfit, that's just, and look at the shoes. I have pictures of my grandmother dressed like that, maybe late 40s. Just slide that back underneath. The lace helps it to stay in there pretty nicely. There's another old postage stamp. And I just did a very light ink stamp here and then kind of wiped it off quickly, blotted it, and faded it a little bit. And there's another quotation from George Bernard Shaw. I love you soulfully and bodyfully, properly and improperly, every way that a woman can be loved. What a beautiful quotation. And here is a pretty tag that I made with just using a napkin and decoupage. And I stitched a piece of cardstock on the back to have a place for writing. And here is a really pretty postcard that's also vintage. This is from a painting done by Edvard Munch. This was printed in Norway. This journal has some really pretty postcards in it. And then this postcard, let's see, Flowers Around a Relief. This is by Daniel Seegers, Dulwich College Picture Gallery. And this was printed in Yorkshire. So just some beautiful postcards in here. And beautiful charms. This would be a sweet little book to journal in. 56 pages if you count front and back, so this is not a really large journal. I've made a little dashboard to go with this journal, you know, so that you can place it under pages for writing on. And that's 4 layers thick. I wanted it to be thick enough to really be useful. So that is in the center, and that is that little journal. Again, I just enjoyed so much being creative last night. It helps me so much. I want to show you one other thing real quickly. I enjoyed working on some tea-stained and dyed paper last night. Just listen to that crinkle. I love that. And I love the smell of tea-stained paper. It just smells so good. I think you probably know you're playing with paper too much when your sweetie asks, what are you thinking you would like for dinner this evening? And then he laughs and says, oh yeah, we're having baked paper. I had to laugh. So I'm going to get back in the studio and get busy. I just wanted to drop in and share the little journal and talk to you about my old Singer sewing machine and show you some of this beautiful paper that I worked on yesterday and last night. I have more of this already soaking to complete today. I would love to make this a permanent listing in my shop. And I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.